What's going on? Welcome back to the Climb the Pocket YouTube channel. My name is Steve. You can find me on Twitter at Steve_CTP. I'm with my co-host, as always, Ryan McGinley. Find him on Twitter at Bootleg Fantasy. Today we got a fun video for you. We're going over the top 15 running backs in our fantasy football running back rankings for 2021. The last time we did this was early June, so we are late July, so we've had plenty of news drop and whatnot. So we're going to go over the differences from our last rankings and discuss our new rankings and give analysis as to why we are higher on certain players than others and just discuss our overall rankings. Before we get into the video, I want to go ahead and let you know that we do have a giveaway going on. We are giving away a signed Keenan Allen mini helmet. I got it right here. It's legit. Signed, approved. Keenan Allen, the beast of a player, has signed this mini helmet, and we are giving it away to you. All you have to do is go over to the Climb the Pocket Twitter and look for this pinned tweet. Follow the rules, and it is pretty simple to win. Right now, go ahead and go enter to win. It's going to be really fun. We're going to be giving away lots of stuff this season, but this is the first of it for the 2021 season. So, really cool piece of memorabilia you're going to want to add to your collection. I wish I could keep it, but I can't. But we're giving that away. So go ahead over to the Climb the Pocket Twitter at Climb the Pocket. Enter to win that sweet helmet. Before we get into the video, I want to say what's up to my co-host, as always, Ryan. What's going on, man?
I just got back from a little vacation. I was up in Maine. Surprisingly enough, it's like 65 degrees there at all times. So it felt like the fall, and the fall means football. And now we're here talking about some revamped rankings. And there's been a little bit of a shakeup in mine. I presume yours are pretty similarly shaken up, but they're not as pretty as I once thought. I felt like the running back depth was great this year, and I don't know. My brain is just fried from going over these rankings. I was hoping that I would feel good waiting on running back, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
No, that tier drop has really fallen off. We've unfortunately lost Cam Akers this season to a torn Achilles. I know everyone was very excited to watch him play. He was going to be a huge breakout for a lot of people. I was very excited to draft him. Unfortunately, he will not be available to draft. We will have to look to his counterpart in Daryl Henderson. Where will he fall in fantasy football drafts? Probably pretty high. Still going to be a great offense, but be interesting to see where he ends up going on draft day. I see his stock, wherever it is now, probably staying there, maybe a little bit higher. People get excited about that Rams offense, but we will see. There's been some other news. Michael Thomas with the Saints. It looks like he's going to start out on the pup, probably miss 6 weeks or so. That's going to be a hit for the Saints. I don't know if the Saints are going to be the same team they've been in the last few years. With all the quarterback questions, their top wide receiver going down, they don't have much of a wide receiver core. And we'll talk about Alvin Kamara, but how does that affect him? Certainly more opportunity, but are they going to be able to move the football? We do not know. We'll go over that when we get into the rankings. Another piece, Aaron Rodgers has reported to Green Bay, not necessarily at training camp yet, but it looks like he's going to be there, so that will affect the Aaron Jones ranking.
You buried the lead there, Steve. That's your boy.
I know.
I like that you're being, rational, and you're trying to keep it straight up the middle, but you're probably thrilled that A-Rod is back, at least for one last dance, because it seems like it's going to be one last dance. Him and Devontae kind of seem like they're ready to leave, but Aaron's got the reins.
Yeah. I'm thrilled for the Packers because I want to see the Packers win. Everyone wants to see their football team win, and I think Aaron Rodgers gives them the best chance. If he does want to be gone next season, at least this gives the team another season to prepare, whether that's Jordan Love or bring in someone else. I don't know. It seems like any move they do now would just upset Packers or the Aaron Rodgers and anything going forward. I think he wants to be in Green Bay. I think he's just upset with the front office and whatnot. We know that. But what goes on from here, in the 2022 season and forward, we do not know.
Bringing Randall Cobb back.
Yeah, I love that. If you go check out my Twitter, I posted a rant tweet about bringing Cobb back, bring Jordy back, get the 2 QB set with Brett Favre. Let's do it all.
Bring back James Jones. He needs to be in his hoodie.
Dude.
This is a sidebar completely, but the fact that no one else wears the hoodie like James Jones wore the hoodie is a disservice to football.
Yeah.
James Jones looked so sick in that, and he never got really tackled by it.
What do you think his thought process was picking out that hoodie? We'll get into the rankings here in a minute, guys, but this is a funny conversation. Do you think it was, hey, I really like the way this hoodie feels. It has a hood. Who cares? It's not going to get in the way. Because someone could have grabbed him down by that hoodie. That's kind of a disadvantage for him. Or do you think he was like, crap, forgot my undershirt at home. This is all I got, and it's cold out here. Got to throw this thing on.
I think it wasn't like a skin tight
No, it
Under
really
Armour
light. It was
type
really light. It was
deal.
like a workout thing.
You know what I mean? So he could have gone with the crew neck. Crew necks also work, or like a long sleeve tee perhaps. But the hoodie just added swag. And
Yeah.
James Jones, that's when you think of him, you think of the hoodie. When he went to, I guess technically it was Oakland at the time, didn't feel as good. I don't even know if he wore the hoodie there.
Hmm.
But that was one of the nicest touches to anybody's uh, wardrobe in the NFL in the early 2000s, 2010. I don't know. I don't
It
even
was
remember
around
when James
2010.
Jones.
I believe he was on that Super Bowl team when they won in 2010.
Yeah,
So yeah.
so he looked great in that, and I want somebody to wear a hoodie this year, and he's going to be my wide receiver one.
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move into the top 15 running backs. We're just going to kind of go by each other's list and whatnot. The first three rankings for us did not change. We both do have CMC and Dalvin Cook at 1 and 2, as most people should. I love Dalvin Cook so much. I almost like want to put him at 1. I just know what Christian McCaffrey can do on the field, whether his team is good or not. He just gets so much volume. He's very good at football in the lightest sense of that statement. He just is. And so is Dalvin Cook. But besides last year, Christian McCaffrey being injured, I do think that was a fluke. Dalvin Cook has a little more of an injury history, but nothing that I'm willing to label on him like the rest of the fantasy football industry or in football, industry in general. Dalvin Cook has that bad label for him, but he's played 14 games the last 2 seasons, just missing 2 games each. That's pretty good for a running back. Usually you're not going to make it all the way through. There's only been a couple that made it all the way through. I think 2. I think we said the stat before, but last year 2 of the top 20 running backs played all 16 games, like Derrick Henry and like Kareem Hunt. So it wasn't that many guys. So Dalvin Cook is very safe to me, and so is Christian McCaffrey. Moving on, I had Derrick Henry at 3 before. Still at 3 for me, and you still have Barkley at 3. I'd like to talk to you because I do have Barkley down at 7. There's a lot of hesitance for me. There's just this weird. There's 1 week it's he might be limited in the beginning of the season, and then the next week everyone's raving about him like, hey, you're going to miss out on this guy if you don't take him top 3 or whatever. And I just really don't know where to stand on this because of that. It's hard for me to confidently rank him up where you have him.
Yeah, well, with Saquon, it's the freak nature ability to me. It's tough to argue against him, and he's a bona fide bell cow. Who's their backup? Booker. I think they brought Devonta Booker in, who can't hold his cleats up to Wayne Gallman. I really think that Barkley's going to see. He might see 300 touches, and the fact that he can run through your face and he's got home run hitting ability and he catches passes, that's big, especially in PPR formats. The offense opens up a lot this year in New York. I've been saying it all offseason. The Giants are a quarterback away from being a legit contending team, and that's disgusting for me since I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. But realistically, their offense on paper pretty solid, and he may not make this type of jump, but Danny Dimes' numbers in his first 2 years are comparable to Josh Allen's. If you go back and go through their first 2 years, they've got very similar numbers. If he made a Josh Allen type jump, which is tough to do, and I would not put the house on that. That offense is going to be electric. The passing game is going to open up everything for Saquon Barkley. Their offensive line is getting better. They've got a couple like young guys that are coming into their own, and the defenses aren't going to have 9 dudes in the box to stop Saquon because Kenny Galladay's on the outside. They got Darius Slayton. They got Kadarius Toney. And Evan Ingram's no slouch. Kyle Rudolph's no slouch. And their offense is good. I really do think that their offense is going to be kind of slept on going into the year. And there's going to be a couple games where you're shocked that they put up the amount of points that they do. But then you actually give it a second. You see the names there. You say, okay, that makes sense that they're doing that. I'm just ahead of the train a little bit. But it does come down to Danny Dimes. I know there's a lot of people that are firm believers in the Dimes. I think he just needs to be above replacement level. He needs to cut down on turnovers, and good things are going to happen in that offense.
Yeah, I think it's the injury for me. And I know out of all the people who tore their ACL last year, Barkley might have had the most time to recover, but he did not get the surgery until, I believe, late October.
Yeah, it was late.
And that's kind of all the speculation going in is he going to be brought into the offense slowly? I don't know if he's going to get any work in those preseason games. So when he gets brought in slowly, what's he able to do? It's kind of like his own training camp is those reps he's going to get. And I just don't know if the first couple weeks he's going to get that full workload.
Yeah.
But we know Saquon Barkley is good enough to have a bunch of boom games later on to pick himself back up in the rankings. We saw what Dave Montgomery did last year to be RB4 in his last 7 or 8 games. Barkley certainly has the capability of doing anything like that to get up here to 3. It's just the question marks. I think once we get, we're about to enter training camp, if there's more good press about him, he'll probably move up a few ticks in my ranking. But right now, this is where he currently stands.
So to piggyback on that, there was a report today by Ryan Dunleavy. He said that my understanding from sources last week is that Saquon considers himself ready to go. Medical experts are telling him his recovery is on track or ahead of expectations, but Giants will go slow, maybe not ramping him up till the last 10 days of camp to get him ready for Week 1. So
yeah, that sounds
they're
promising.
doing their best to make sure that Saquon is good to go for Week 1, but that may mean a slower-ish start to the year. I think that will pay dividends down the road. You don't win your season in Week 1. But the Giants could definitely take a huge hit if they lose Saquon Barkley. So yeah. I completely understand what they're doing with that.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I do have Alvin Kamara at 4. I had him at 4 before, and this is still after the news about Michael Thomas. And the reason I kept him here was just a straight volume play. I assume that he's going to be leaned on in the passing game heavily. So in a PPR setting, he's going to receive his 80-plus receptions. And I feel very confident about that because who else is catching the ball there? Adam Troutman is all of a sudden a top 10 tight end for some people. And then who else is that receiver? Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith. Those guys are no one.
Hey, they brought in Chris Hogan.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was still playing football. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't think so.
Yeah, wasn't he playing the lacrosse or something like that?
He did move to like the professional lacrosse league, or he at least tried to. I haven't been as locked in on my professional lacrosse.
Yeah, I gotta.
But it's good for him. He played college lacrosse. It's a little known fact that no one really talks about.
I don't think anyone needs to talk about that, but yeah. Alvin Kamara here at 4, like I said, is working the passing game. He's going to get a lot of work. I think it all comes down to who's that quarterback and are they able to move the football with the weapons that they do have. They're going to play a lot more small ball, ground and pound games. That's what they have to do. They're not going to have Michael Thomas catch those slant routes, pick up those first downs and whatnot. Michael Thomas is not usually a huge touchdown guy anyway. It's going to be Kamara. I think the touchdown department will be friendly to him if they can move the ball. So him at 4 is not a super confident number 4, but I feel really good about his passing game that I feel confident to keep him here at number 4 and not move him down. You do have Derrick Henry at 4. We both Jonathan Taylor 5 and 6 for us. I have Nick Chubb down at number 5, and it looks like Nick Chubb is outside your top 8 that's shown on the screen right now.
Yep.
Nick Chubb was number 5 for me last time, so he has not moved. He's just a player I love. It's really hard for me to move him. I just love him. I know most people in the fantasy industry and football industry in general love Nick Chubb. They see that he's one of the most pure runners in the NFL, if not the best. One of them, and it's just the Kareem Hunt looming, not going to get pass work that really does it for people, that moves them down in the rankings. I just think this is a statement year for Nick Chubb. I think he's going to completely dominate, and I think the Browns take a step forward from what they did last year, which is going to make them a very dangerous team. They were pretty good last year, but they didn't really find their stride until like the second half of the season, and then that little playoff run they made. So Nick Chubb's going to be a big part of it. If this guy, whatever, decides to go for 15 plus touchdowns, it's going to be something fun to watch. This guy has breakaway speed. He's able to get those 75-yard touchdowns that you love to look on the fantasy app and see, wow, that was a huge play for me, or watch it on Red Zone and just start running around the house. Nick Chubb has that ability. So him at number 5 for me, I feel very comfortable. Last year was kind of weird for Nick Chubb. We didn't know exactly where to draft him, late second, that kind of thing. And right now he's a first-round pick like he was 2 years ago. I drafted him in the first round, and it was a little iffy. But this year I feel more confident than that year, and that's why he's up at number 5 for me. Why do you have him at number 9? Give me a few those little concerns. Besides, can you give me anything besides the Kareem Hunt factor?
So, no, I can't, because Nick Chubb does lose a lot of PPR volume, and that's a big deal. And he's the first guy on my list that I can say I'm slightly concerned about the amount of work he gets. Granted, Nick Chubb, there was some weird stat where he didn't run for 100 yards over 18 carries, but he had like 600-yard games with 18 carries or less. Like, he's an unbelievable running back. He's the best pure running back in the NFL. If he was in a different era, he would he would be highly touted, and there would be no issues with Nick Chubb. I've got him at 9 because the guys ahead of him see a lot of PPR volume and or don't have any competition. It's not a knock on Nick Chubb. If Nick Chubb was the only act in town, he very easily could be number 5 on my list. It's just the fact that Kareem Hunt showed up and looked like rookie year Kareem Hunt, and they worked beautifully together. As somebody who had Nick Chubb on his team last year, when third down comes up and he runs off the field and then Kareem Hunt has a big play on third down and then they keep him in after that, it's frustrating. I do think he's their goal line guy. He did a lot of that last year when he was healthy. And it hurts to put him at 9 because I want to bump him up higher. It's just I don't think that with the volume he's getting, I want to, just because I don't feel safe drafting him above Aaron Jones and even Ezekiel Elliott, which
Yeah, so we both have Zeke at 8, but moving into Aaron Jones, you do have him at number 6. I have him down at 9. And the only reason I have him at 9 is just because I like the guys that are right above him a little better. We talked about Barkley. I know the upside with him. He's going to get a lot more volume than Aaron Jones. And then Elliott, certainly a volume play as well, and that PPR upside. Not that Jones doesn't have the PPR upside. He's a really good pass-catching running back, but he just never gets that full volume. And you know the Packers are going to sprinkle in a few awesome games where they just run A.J. Dillon into the ground and Aaron Jones is sitting on the sideline. Even though we know what he can do, I think this team excels more kind of like what the Browns would do, is where they would run 2 running back sets and mix it up. I think they have the perfect combination for that. Because Aaron Jones isn't, and same with Kareem Hunt, but he's not strictly a pass-catching running back. He's got breakaway speed. He can hit the holes. Cutting ability is amazing, and he's really good. He's just not built for like that 20-plus carries a game. We've seen he's had a couple injury issues in the past, and that's just not the Packers' style. Even when Jamal Williams was there for those last couple of years, Aaron Jones and him were splitting it, So I guess it comes down to who's going to be the best pass blocker. I don't know too much about A.J. Dillon. Me being a Packers fan, I feel kind of, this is coming up on camera right now, guys, but I don't know his pass blocking ability compared to Jamal Williams. I know Jamal Williams is one of the best in the league, so I figure that's a downgrade. Aaron Jones wasn't the primary pass blocking running back, but was that, he's kind of smaller. A.J. Dillon's huge. So interested to see. So your take on Aaron Jones now that the Packers have Aaron Rodgers back in town, you're feeling much more comfortable than before. Did he move up in your rankings a little bit? It looks like he moved up 1 spot. For me, he moved up 2 spots.
I have to move him up because Rodgers is back, baby. And if this is truly their last ride, you can't experiment with A.J. Dillon this year. You know what Aaron Jones can do. And fantasy football is all about falling in love with your guys, right? And Aaron Jones is one of my guys. He won me a fantasy championship against the Minnesota Vikings where he just absolutely ran all over them. And he's the best running back in that backfield. He's, I guess, the second best playmaker on that team. You got to get him in those games. And if the coaching staff knows that Rodgers is on his way out, you use these guys up. You're not saving Aaron Jones for Jordan Love. You can run A.J. Dillon with Jordan Love. That's fine. That's a rebuild year. You're trying to see what A.J. Dillon has.
That doesn't
Aaron
sound
Jones
so
is going to
nice.
get a lot of touches. What?
So that doesn't sound so nice.
No, it doesn't, which sucks for you. But it's great if you want to draft Aaron Jones this year because I absolutely love the guy. His PPR volume isn't as high as I'd like it to be, but I think that's going to change this year. I think they know that he makes stuff happen. If you get the ball to him in open field, he's nasty. And he'll come in with his sombrero, and he's just a guy that's easy to love. And it's tough for me to knock those types of guys. Like, it's tough for me having Alvin Kamara at 7 because that's a guy that I love as well. But Aaron Jones definitely deserves to be at minimum top 10. I think that I'll eventually talk you into that by the time the off season's
He's
over.
number 9. He's number 9.
Yeah, okay, then we're good.
Yeah, I got him at 9. He's right there, and he just moved up for me 2 spots from earlier because earlier there was speculation.
That might just be your pessimism with your team.
Everyone has that.
Miles Sanders is my running back 17. Didn't even make it onto this YouTube channel. Like, he's not here. Like, he's not going to be on the slides.
Yeah.
He's 17.
He made the video.
It because I overanalyzed the Philadelphia Eagles? Yes, it is, 100%.
I'm not overanalyzing it. It's just I wish the Packers would use him kind of like the Saints do with Kamara and Michael Thomas. They have their Adams and Thomas. I know Adams is better than Thomas, but Aaron Jones, when Devontae Adams was out, showed his ability to be a pass catcher downfield. Yeah. I want them to do that more. I think that would be
Aaron Jones
is awesome because he's a good pass catcher and he's got that breakaway speed. He can make cuts. He's a good pass catcher of the football. Like they need to use him in that way more. And it's like they're constantly trying to find their Packers wide receiver too. The whole fantasy industry, everyone's trying to find it. But Aaron Jones could be that guy. I know he's a running back, but he can be the guy that gets the uptick in the passing volume and shows a lot for your team. And these other guys, these more role players, Allen Lazard, MVS, they don't have to have all that pressure to be the number 2 for Rodgers. They have that there in Jones. Like, they have that there. We'll see if that's the kind of tick they go this year. I think that's an interesting thing to watch as we get into the season. How will the Packers manage Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon besides just a boring old split or anything like that and give Aaron Jones his 15, 16 touches and A.J. Dillon his 11 and 12 touches? Like, not something like that. Let's see something a little more interesting. So I'll be watching that going into the season. Number 10, we both have Austin Eckler. Our number 10 through 15 or 14 are identical. Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson, Dave Montgomery, Naji Harris. There wasn't, so Joe Mixon moves up for me, moves up 4 spots, moves up 1 for you. So you were a little higher on him before. I was a little lower, but I just continue to get more excited about this Bengals offense. There's been news about Joe Burrow, that he's going to be healthy going into the season. I feel pretty confident in that. I know he had a nasty knee injury, but I think he's going to come back ready to play, and that's going to help the offense overall. Joe Mixon, they're riding with this guy. They gave him the fat contract a few years ago. They're riding with him if he stays healthy, which I do not predict injuries. I don't predict injuries, but I think he's going to be really good. Like, he definitely, and Gio Bernard's gone. Love that. Gio Bernard was always, love that. Great pass blocker, one of the best pass catching running backs that I've seen.
The oldest 28-year-old of all time, Gio Bernard.
The killer mustache is out of town. That was very Cincinnati, but now he's in Tampa. He's going to have to shave that. But Joe Mixon, I don't know, man. Where are you willing to draft Joe Mixon this year when it comes to like
running
12
back 11?
Okay, well, I'm saying like a 12-team league. There's wide receivers mixed in, Travis Kelsey, of course. Where's the optimal spot for you to draft in the beginning of round 2? Does that feel early?
I feel like he's going to be like a mid-round 2 in a 12-team league just because there is skepticism with Joe Mixon. He may drop even further than that. You may be able to get him end of round 2, beginning of round 3 because he's left a sour taste in at least 2 guys in your league's mouths because they've had him and he hasn't done what they wanted him to do. So I think you can get him a little later than I expect his ADP to pay him, but I would be comfortable in the middle of the second round if a couple of the guys ahead of him aren't there, which I don't think they will be, because we both have him probably ranked higher than the general consensus. I think that he is the only option in town, and I think that the Bengals would be the dumbest organization in all of sports if they dropped Joe Burrow back at the pace he was going last year. I understand they added Jamar Chase. That's great, and their offensive line is better than people talk about, but you can't risk Joe Burrow early in his second year just to win a couple games in a division you're probably not going to win. So I think Joe Mixon's going to be relied on a ton this year.
Yeah.
I think middle of the second round is probably the sweet spot.
All right, and the last guy I want to talk about is the guy we have at 14. That's Naji Harris. There was some information that came out today that the Steelers expect him to be a 3-down back. I don't think there was much surprise there. I think that's just people putting out headlines. I think the one thing that keeps this guy from being a Clyde Edwards-Helaire-like pick like last year is his offensive line. That's the big concern for everyone. I think Naji Harris is better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he has better tangibles. Like, and he's just good. Like, Naji Harris is really good. He was amazing on Alabama. He's the most like Steelers-like running back they could have drafted. So I think everyone might be like the most excited, and that doesn't really make sense, to watch Naji Harris play for the Steelers. Like,
hey Steve,
yeah,
who do you think had the worst yards per carry in the NFL as a team last year? Who do you think it was?
I mean, it had to be Pittsburgh.
They were getting 3.6
I mean,
yards.
It was so noticeable when you watch Pittsburgh Steelers games that they just were not running the ball because it just flat out was not working.
Just Benny Snell running right into the back of Alejandro Villanueva all year.
Yeah, I mean, it was awful, and I completely believe that the Steelers front office and coaching staff recognize that, and they want to get back to a running like football team. Although that is a label that has been put on Pittsburgh for years, that they are a run-first football team. They've actually been towards the bottom of the pack for a few years in a row, plenty of years actually, even when Le'Veon Bell was there, where they're like in like the bottom third of the league when it comes to rushing.
They were last year.
We know last year.
Yeah, but how many yards do you think they were behind the Texans for second to last?
Like rushing yards?
Yep. So the Texans had 1466 and as the rushing yard total. How many rushing yards?
All right. Well, James Conner and Benny Snell probably combined for, I don't know, oh man, this might be a crazy number. I'm just going to say 1,200. So 200.
1350.
So okay,
they were 110 yards behind the Texans.
So I was worried.
30
way
less
off.
attempts than them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's pretty bad. I'm not translating that to Naji Harris though. I think their talent.
You got to switch it up.
Their talent though, like Naji Harris is better than James Conner and Benny Snell. Like 100%. I think that the fact that, and I think he can do a lot more in the passing game than those guys. I think for that year when James Conner was great, I think people want to convince everyone that he was a good pass catching running back. He's really not. Like, he was just kind of average. He had decent hands, but Naji Harris can catch the ball. He can run the routes. He is an all-around three-down back. So that's why he's up here at 14 for me. I don't think I feel comfortable taking him in the first round. I think all the running backs we've mentioned before this, I think there's a few guys here we can kind of interchange, like Antonio Gibson and David Montgomery. I think these guys are kind of all interchangeable, but I think I draw the line at Joe Mixon. I would rather take Joe Mixon, every running back before that for me, that I spoke about on my list before Naji Harris. And then right after that, you kind of play it by feel. If you like Naji Harris a lot more than Antonio Gibson or Dave Montgomery, I am not going to, fret you for taking him, no doubt. It's an upside pick. It's a risk-reward pick.
Yeah, no.
There at 14, though, is probably the end of the second round. I think in a lot of leagues, people are going to get excited, and they're going to take them at the end of round 2 or the beginning of round 2, sometimes round 1, depending on the hype around your league and how many SEC football fans and Alabama fans are in your league. They're going to draft him much higher. But for me, until a lot more comes out, I see some more cool videos of him catching touchdown passes and stuff. I'm not touching him not too much higher than 14.
Yeah, with that, there's also one major factor that could be an issue for him, and that's Big Ben. I would love to know the amount of rushing attempts versus passing attempts teams with like a quarterback over like 38 have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the guys that are ancient, that are still slinging it, continue to sling it, and they prefer to not just hand the ball off. We saw it with Brady, we saw it with Breeze, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers. They're not looking to hand the ball off, and that's how Big Ben is. I want to see, a little rapport built between Harris and Big Ben, because Big Ben's a stubborn dude. We know that, and if Harris gains his trust early, you're probably getting a steal with that draft pick. If he doesn't, though, it's going to be interesting. Like, if he misses a block and Big Ben gets taken down by a shoestring and he starts freaking out, it may turn into the Big Ben show, and that's never great, but they do have the weapons for that, and I think he would try to make a case for it. But I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be a very good running back, and I think it's going to be pretty much instantaneously.
Yeah, something fun to watch throughout training camp and preseason and whatnot, beginning of the season. Rounding it out for me is Chris Carson at 15. You have DeAndre Swift at 15. You had him at 14 before, so that rounds it out. There's a lot of guys between 15 and 20 that can be interchanged, but Chris Carson found my 15th spot. Swift found your 15th spot. So there it is. there's our top 15 running backs as of July 28th. So by the time enter training camp, we'll probably do an overall ranking show, maybe top 30, 40, 50. That sounds kind of fun. Closer to the draft, help you prepare for that draft and draft strategy and whatnot. But there's our running back rankings. Go over to the Climb the Pocket Twitter. You're not going to want to miss out on a chance to win this Keenan Allen signed mini helmet. We are giving it away to one of you guys. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel, drop a comment on one of our videos with your Twitter handler, and follow the rest of the directions on the tweet at the beginning of the video. Rewind to go see it. Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, like the video. Really appreciate that. Drop a comment on some of what you agree with in this video and what you don't. Drop your rankings. We'd love to critique them. So, we will see you next time for another video next week. Peace out.